right, we are live. Um, First of all, I just want to welcome everybody to this webcast. So excited about it, right? The AI Collective, an overview of how to make AI practical for your career. Um, we're going to go through a lot of cool information today. Today's really in the spirit of creating awareness and really what it means to be practical with AI. And so what we'll do is we're gonna go through some intros. We'll cover some kind of the background. We'll get into the AIC, the actual program that Daniel and I are putting out there, and we'll do our formal intros with slides here shortly. But number one, I just want to welcome everybody for joining this webcast. And if you can, in the comments, let us know what you're most excited about, where you're from. Let's just kind of start getting the conversation going. We'll be monitoring the chat as best we can. Just to make sure we're staying on top of questions, feedback, etc. And so let me make sure we're looking at the comments here. All right. Okay. And I'm hoping we can see everybody. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure we're all good. Yes. All right. So again, thank you everybody for joining. Really, really excited to be here. And so as we get started, right, the AI, right, the future is here. Right, AI is here. It's not going anywhere, and so this discussion is really important for us to just really level set and to say, okay, where are we? Where do we need to be? Where do we need to go? And most importantly, how do we get there? Right? There's been a lot of talk, a lot of webinars around AI, but really we want to bring it practical. So with that, well, Daniel, I know we'll do our formal intros here shortly, but if you want to pull up and share the slides that we have to get the discussion going, we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right. And let me know when we're ready. Yeah, I see Yerdy and I see Murray and others. Welcome. Cesar, welcome. All right.
Okay, sharing the slide.
Okay, and I cannot see for whatever reason on my end.
Okay.
Yeah, you see on your end, Daniel? And I'm not sure if the audience can see the slide.
Yeah. 1 second.
Okay. I apologize, people. We're getting our technology here going here. All right. Here we go. At the stage. Got it. All right. So like I said, myself and Daniel, again, we'll do formal intros with Daniel as a handoff. But next slide, Daniel. Let's keep it going. Yeah, so a little bit about me. I know a lot of folks on here I do know, but for those who I don't know, what I loved about mine and Daniel's relationship or partnership is that, I come from a very business focused, leadership, I bring that leadership business lens, and Daniel brings this great AI techie lens, and we really made the best out of both worlds. But when it comes to me, in case you don't know who I am, I do a lot in the leadership space, right? And my mission is to develop confident, bold, high impact leaders. Period. That's it. That's what I do. I'm extremely passionate about it. I wrote books and I have programs for previous Fortune 100 senior corporate business leader, global leader, right? All this stuff. Worked with ERGs. I work with corporations. I work with universities. I do a lot, right? And it's very near and dear to my heart. And when I think of leadership, it's not a Latino thing, right? For me, it's a leader thing, right? So I work with all communities. We work with all communities, all backgrounds, all industries. We have to create leaders in all segments, right? And that's why I'm really excited about today's talk, because what we cover today applies to everybody, right? It applies personally, it applies professionally. If you're a student, it's going to tee you up for your career, right? These things are extremely important. So anyhow, a little bit about me. I'm not going to read through everything here, but Daniel, next slide, please. I do want to share a couple of personal stories here. And before I talk about the picture, I want to talk about how Daniel and I met. If you're not familiar, I run the Professional Leadership Club, which is my career acceleration or leadership program. And it was interesting. Earlier this year, I was wrapping up my final session, and it's a 5-month-long series. And I invited Daniel to come talk about AI, right? And me, I'm a newer AI person, so just full transparency. But I invited Daniel to talk in our final session. And usually in our final session, I have, 4, 5, 6 speakers. And Daniel went first and gave a great, AI overview. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And, I was just like, okay, cool, let's, but I was already on to the other speakers. But what blew me away is that when the other speakers were speaking, right, they gave their topics. Daniel was actually real time creating infographics based on what they were saying. And he was putting them in the chat real time. And the audience was just fully blown away, like, holy, like it was magic, right? It was like total magic. And it got to the point where we were expecting the next, infographic after every speaker, right? And so I just knew the power. I saw and I felt the power of AI, at least with that little moment there. And I knew that we had to do something with that, right? And so because of that experience, Daniel and I spoke. We're here today. We're going to present some really cool stuff. The other thing, and the personal story and with the pictures is, when I think about AI, right? Like I'm newer to AI, and I want to be very intentional with my journey. And when I think about AI, I think of prior to AI, I felt like we were just doing like basic, right? The standard, you see the standard car there. However, now with the AI being here, with the speed of business, with the speed of capability and speed of expectations, we have to be high performance, right? That is just a new normal now, right? High performance is here. And so to be high performance, you have to develop yourself to be, with the speed, the power, and the capability to deliver for yourself, for your career. And the way I like to put it is really AI is an enabler for your career, right? It keeps you relevant, it keeps you competitive, and it future proofs your career in the end. It future proofs your business, right? This is we're taking both an individual approach and also a business approach. There are some nonprofit owners that are going to be looking at this, or business owners. How do I leverage AI to drive us forward? And so that's the key: is we need high performance machines, high performance individuals, high performance organizations, and that's the beauty of where this can take us, right? And so really that's the journey that we're all on. Next slide, Daniel. I do a lot of research. For those who are in my class, I'm always researching. I'm pulling quotes. I'm pulling insights. And one of the things that that I'm really big on, like I said, I bring that business leadership lens, and we have the technical lens that we're bringing together. But when I think of AI, I think of solving business problems, right? I don't just do AI for the sake of learning AI. That's not the intent here. As an example, even before I get to the first bubble there, I'm developing a nonprofit, so more to come soon. But as I was developing my nonprofit, I had to create a slide. I remember it was like a couple of weeks ago. So I had to create a slide where I had to bounce my nonprofit against others. The key features, right? Well, how are we different, right? My nonprofit versus like all these others. And typically, I already started like outlining stuff, and I'm looking up their websites. I'm trying to pull information and fill out like a little spreadsheet. And I'm just like, I'm going to go AI on this, and I just put in AI, hey, look at my thing and compare it to all these other organizations. I literally put it in a prompt, and it spit out like a slide in like 5 seconds or 10 seconds, whatever it was. And so literally it took easily 3-4 hours worth of work and put it in less than a minute, right? And right there I knew, I was like, this is the way it's going. At least for me, it's the way it's going. And so again, when I think of AI, I start with the business problem. I start with the need, right? And that's really what it comes down to. In speaking to HR professionals, leaders across different organizations, I talk to a lot of the global organizations and leaders of those organizations. They're like, you got to solve for business problems, whatever that is. If you're in accounting, if you're in finance, if you're in project management, if you're in HR, every one of us has a business problem. And it's a matter of how you get there the quickest. AI is a great way of doing it. There might be other ways, but at the end of the day, you got to deliver value. You got to generate value. You got to generate efficiently and effectively, right? You have to lead. And people got to trust that you're going to lead to solve business problems. I just want to call that out. We're very business problem focused here. The other thing is that, again, talking to recruiters, HR executive recruiters, by the way, they're like the ones who are getting these opportunities. And when I say these opportunities, they're getting roles, whether you're coming out of college, whether you're early career or trying to get promotions. Those who can advance business, solve problems using AI are the ones who are going to get the opportunity. Full stop. That's it, right? And so the question for all of us is, do you want to just be keeping up with AI and hoping for the best? Or do you want to master AI and lead and get the best, right? That's where this is. And that's why I say excellence is a new standard. Daniel's going to walk through everything here shortly. We want to put you in that position of AI excellence, AI leadership. You set the tone. You get the opportunities. That's where you want to be, and not just for now. And you can imagine that, right? AI is just coming out. Can you imagine in the future, 5, 10 years from now? You got to start now. Get ahead of this thing and start blowing this thing out. The last thing I'll say is complacency is just going to be a killer, right? It's going to be a killer for your business. If you're trying to operationalize your business and get it more efficient, you got to install this, right? Even for your career. I saw a quote. I'm going to read it here. Hopefully I can find it. I don't know, maybe I can't this quickly, but basically, if you are not, the thought is if you are not upskilling, if you are not getting in front of this, if you are not developing or driving the value that your organization requires, the value is going to surpass you, right? Hate to say you're going to get left behind, but those who take charge now are going to be the ones who are going to get these opportunities, right? So bottom line, that's what today's about. It's really about driving awareness on all these concepts, where we need to be going forward. And Daniel's going to come behind us with how are we going to get there, and that's where we come to play. The last thing I'll say, and for those of you who know me, especially my work with the PLC, is we don't want to be another AI program. And Daniel's going to talk about the different types of AI programs that are out there. We wanted to make sure we deliver unique value. Again, kind of going to that first bucket you see there. Extremely important that we provide something that's different, something that's practical, something that's immediately valuable to you in your career and for the long run, right? That's the spirit of the AIC. And so with that, Daniel, I'll hand it over to you and you can take us home, or to the next phase at least.
No, that's great. Ref, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And it's been great to connect with Ref. And as he mentioned, we met during the leadership program that he had. Type came in to talk about AI and the impact of AI for leadership, and connected well. Loved the program and the efforts that he put together. And as we followed up after that session, we said there's something that we need to do together. We need to address something that's missing with the different AI solutions and programs that are available, and we see a need and some challenges that we are going to walk you through here, and that we're setting up with our first cohort that starts on June 2nd. A bit of a background on me here. So I'm Daniel Contreras, and I have my own consulting company, Optimista. I serve as a Fractional Chief AI Officer and Executive AI Advisor. So I work with companies that don't have AI leadership, people in AI roles, and also as an advisor to non-technical leaders. You see in my background that I've set before starting my consultancy in 3 different seats. Spent time at Accenture as a consultant. I spent time as a client at BP, where I had consultants and vendors pitching me for initiatives and technology and transformation. So I built and ran a 200+ person global team. I was in the US, Europe, and India, and I spent 2 years in Malaysia setting up an IT center in Kuala Lumpur. I then transitioned to Microsoft, where I served as the virtual Chief Technology Officer for Microsoft to first a cohort of portfolio of 8 companies, financial services companies, highly regulated. And then the last 4 years, I was there for a strategic 500 global manufacturer. So I left about a year ago, June of last 2025, to start my consultancy with doing AI. So it's vendor agnostic. So certainly with my Microsoft legacy, there's some Microsoft tooling and AI solutions that I bring to the table, but it's much broader. And as you all know, there's multiple solution providers, and we'll talk in a moment around how there's just tons of things going on in the AI space. I've also done some extensive work in community in the nonprofit space, as you see here listed. And as a bit of a piece around AI and what we work through, this is an infographic about me that 3 years ago I would have said, okay, I spent a couple hours and create a PowerPoint slide. So here I just fed this into my AI brain and said, I need a slide that gives an intro for this group that I'm speaking with. And it provided all my content and my voice and my details there. So I kind of create slides and infographics for my bio, depending on the audience that I'm speaking with, in a simple way. So kind of living in the age of AI. The piece that Ref and I were talking about is where folks are at in their journey, right? And there's a difference between like AI literacy and AI fluency. So you'll see Ref and I discussing AI fluency, and literacy is kind of basic and fundamental. Fluency is a continuum of what you do. So we like to think about it from the perspective of learning a language. So if you learn a language, if you learn French, You might learn some basic things in your journey to fluency to be able to ask for directions to a restaurant or to some landmark in Paris, but you're not fluent yet. And you might then go on that journey and be able to read and write and listen to music and movies. And the epitome of it would be you write a book in French in that example, right? So similar to that with AI, it's a journey. The way we're describing it is, in these 4 stages, right? Kind of curiosity, you're doing some kicking the tires and testing out different solutions. Experimenting, it's a bit more intentional, you're using regularly, but just some basic things that you know how to do, and some things work and some things don't, and it's trial and error. But it's a bit unstructured and slow, and because AI is changing so quickly, you might feel more behind as you're experimenting and trying to decide what to experiment with. Fluency, is you actually embed it into what you're doing every day. And it is a continuum of fluency, but you have some foundational building blocks of what do you do? How do you engage with AI? How do you get it to know you and your voice and your priorities and your context, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then leading with AI is not only are you doing it for yourself, but you're also leading others. And not only having personal productivity, but being able to apply it for yourself and for your team, for your organization, workflow redesign, organizational redesign. How do you leverage AI, not just for productivity, but for more meaningful things, both internal and customer facing.
So Daniel, and just really quickly, I want to ask the audience, if you guys can put in a chat too, where do you think you fall on this spectrum? I just want to get a sense of where the audience thinks they feel based on these kind of parameters. Put it in the, I guess, like notes or the comments. Where are you in your journey? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Just curious to see where our audience is.
No, that sounds good. And as you're inputting that, I'll move forward and transition. The pace of change in AI is unlike anything we've seen before. So anecdotally, you talk to friends, family, and coworkers, and you go to events, conferences, and you attend webinars, you hear about things that are being done that you're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. I hadn't heard of that before. You hear announcements, you hear so many things happening that it's hard to keep up. So before AI, around technology transformation, there was a lot of innovation and transformation, but you could, once a quarter, attend sessions, industry events, and maybe attend an annual conference or offsite training, and kind of keep up with things, seeing where things are developing. Now it's not just monthly; it's even weekly, and some days, some weeks every other day, right? So AI is moving quite differently. So the result of that is it puts us in a place of indecision, right? And we know that we need to do things with AI. Our organizations, kind of industry, our peer group are telling us where they're at, and we feel like we're being left behind. We hear announcements about layoffs, AI impacting all sorts of jobs, tech and non-tech jobs. But there's a fork of the road around, where do I start? What do I do? Do I make the right bet? Do I get certified in Microsoft technologies, and ChatGPT and what they're doing with enterprise? Claude seems to be doing so much over the last few months. Do I do something with Anthropic, right? There's so many questions now. Google's making some announcements over the last week and what they're doing with Gemini. So that causes indecision. And what we're looking to do is make AI practical and set up a foundation. So you will actually have a base for what is available now, how to actually work now, but also tool agnostic. So you can kind of take your knowledge and expertise and your second brain that we can help you build with AI to different tools and different approaches. And as new technology comes about, then you can incorporate it and assess where does that fit in. So from a leadership perspective, Raf and I were talking about the trends around leadership. There is a basic piece that applies to all professionals and leaders around access versus what they're doing with it. So many companies are investing dollars and some basic training funds and programs on, here are the tools, here's what's available, here's some sample use cases, but people are not incorporating into their day-to-day. And a recent study from Microsoft called out that 75% of AI users are bringing tools from home. And part of that is because there's lack of leadership and direction and guidance from a work perspective and other people and culture and change management challenges. So there's a lack of structured training. Some of that has been provided, is kind of very rudimentary, even as, by 2029, 2030, 3/4 of all employers plan to reskill their workforce with AI. So the access isn't the problem right now, it's the fluency. As Ref mentioned, from a career perspective, recruiters, including executive recruiters, are already screening for AI literacy. We have, I was speaking with somebody recently that was sharing how they are in the interview process asking both college grads and experienced hires, tell me about AI and your use of AI. And they're not looking to say, well, I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, I use Gemini, I use Notebook LM. They're looking for how have you applied it to your life, both personally and professionally? How are you leveraging it? How do you go about solving challenges with it? Walk me through your workflow of what you do with it. And if you can't articulate that, then they're actually looking for you as a differentiator to bring in AI fluency and skills to their workforce, because many workforce professionals don't have that. So then you're not selected for the next round based on that as a key factor.
Yeah, Daniel, let me provide a little bit more context here, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm creating this nonprofit, right? And it's going to get to a point where we have to staff the nonprofit. And so those who I hire, to be honest, I mean, just full transparency, they need to be AI fluent, right? You need to be able to display to me, how are you going to use AI to advance this role, to advance our business? Plain and simple, right? That's going to be a requirement, at least for the way that I'm looking at AI. And so think about this too. If you were starting an organization or a club or a group or whatever it is, to be competitive, what would you be looking for, right? And I'm guessing you would want somebody who can help you advance. And that's what businesses are looking for. So I just wanted to bring that idea forward as well.
No, 100%. So thank you for adding that, Ref. The last thing I'll mention here is there's some research behind this, some recent research around the way leadership is being evaluated. And whereas before, both for internal roles and projects, but also external hires, you might look at a candidate and say, what experience do you have transforming an HR function? What experience do you have, with a go-to-market for a new product, a physical product or digital product? What experience do you have, with mergers and acquisitions, et cetera? And then obviously you have to have that experience to demonstrate what you've done, not just your ability and aptitude, but your experience. But now with AI, particularly because many folks have not done work with AI, like AI transformation, AI enablement, AI product development, it's not a question only of have you done this before, but like, can you do what this moment requires, right? So are you flexible enough? Are you agile enough? Can you reinvent yourself enough to be able to apply your experience and skills and learn things that you didn't know before and apply them quickly and actually extend them to your organization? So that's another element there. And as it mentions here, AI fluent professionals are earning a wage premium over peers in similar roles. The thing that I want to pivot to now is, in the interest of time, I'm going to do a very, very quick demo, and it's going to be a demo that doesn't have that it illustrates some things that I want to call out, but I'm going to come back to this slide here in a moment. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you a quick piece around. You hear a lot about prompt engineering. You may have heard about context engineering. But I want to give you an example of something that we're going to bring to life in the fluency in the AIC cohort that starts on June 2nd, around how to train AI to not only have your voice but your context, your information, so you can build your second brain to help you with your work, with your prospects, with your career planning, etc. So what I have here open is a chat window in ChatGPT, and there's an option here. If you're not aware, if you click temporary chat, then even if you're logged in and it has other memory about you, it won't have any background of what you've talked to ChatGPT about. So what I've done in this temporary chat in ChatGPT is I've asked a question: help me plan a visit to the Art Institute with my son, Jacob. In this window, the reply then that has come out from this temporary chat is okay, some detail about a parent-son experience. Here's the best how to optimize it. And it says kids enjoy missions more than seeing everything, family-focused tools, etc. And then it gives you some other details for what it could look like, right? Arrival, find something tiny, huge. So it's made some assumption that it's kid-oriented. It's giving that place. So if you don't give AI the right context, it's going to make assumptions to be helpful. Sometimes it'll make good assumptions, sometimes it will make bad assumptions, but it's made an assumption that my son is a child. My son Jacob is actually 25. So if I did another temporary chat here that said, I'm planning a visit to the Institute with my son Jacob, who is 25, and hear a couple of his interests, then it would give me a better answer. It wouldn't give me kids focus, and it would give me some information that has to do with Jacob and his age and his interest. And it still doesn't remember me because it would be a temporary chat, and it wouldn't go from chat to chat and remember it. Now, tools like ChatGPT and Claude have memory built in, but most folks don't have a sense of where that memory is kept, how it's updated. And a lot of folks, for example, recently in the last few months, for various reasons, have moved from ChatGPT to Claude. And they're like, Claude doesn't know anything about me. There's some ways that Claude has set up so you can import some data, but there's hit or miss and may not remember everything about you. So a big thing that we're going to do with fluency in the cohort is show you how to actually know how memory works and how to build that context. And one of the ways to do that, there's multiple ways, but one of the ways to do that is through projects. So what I have here is a different window with Claude. And what you'll see here is I have a project called Jacob. And in this project, I have had multiple conversations with Claude about Jacob, things that I do with him. I've done it in a project because in this project, it's a memory. It's not only a folder, to organize chats. It's also a memory container, and it gives it context. So it remembers the chats that I'm having within that project and only within that project, and it leverages them in new chats. It also lets me add files, that are specific, just like you add files to a chat, but files that are specific to this project about Jacob, and also some instructions around how to work with me in those chats. So it becomes my Jacob AI interaction, my user interface. So I asked the same prompt that I asked ChatGPT in incognito mode, help me plan a visit to the Art Institute with my son Jacob. And the answer was more tailored, right? So if I look through this detail here around what it looked at, it actually is saying, okay, I know Jacob works at Uniqlo, has a free Art Institute access pass. Let me find out more. Jacob is visually and symbolically minded, has a humanities orientation, interested in poetry and idea, processes things through art and music. And it came up with some suggestions, right? And then the suggestions that, if I get away with what I thought about, is, okay, instead of here's a big visit and what it looks like, here's the one that you should go with. It's relevant and also closes soon. Here's some detail that'll be important. And it actually gives you this intersection of what Matisse does will be squarely in Jacob's territory. Visual art is a form of writing, and image and text as equal expressions. And then it's a natural show don't tell setup. And the reason it's saying that is because this chat knows that the way I engage things with my sons is I want to show them and let them experience things instead of walking them through them and tell them in detail. So give me some directions there. And then it says some details about a Uniqlo benefit that Jacob has. And then and it gives me a suggestion with some specifics here, right? Don't pre-brief him, let him encounter it cold, and watch where his attention goes. So this is a small example of, from a personal perspective, or where the context helps. So you hear some complex descriptions. You can look them up through AI. The difference between prompt engineering and context engineering, and this projects in Claude is one way to do that, and there's more advanced ways to do that as well. But what we just walked through here with this personal example is what happens without context. With some context, it'll give some details and built in some specificity, but with the full context, it tailors it based on what it knows. So what becomes possible is a simple prompt, help me plan a visit with Jacob to the Art Institute, and it gives me the right exhibition, the right approach, the right moment. So AI working with me in that way. So the prompt didn't change, but what AI knew about me and what about Jacob changed. So this is a nice personal example, and part of my philosophy and approach is you need to experiment with AI from a personal perspective heavily and do a lot of throwaway experimentation in multiple apps. And with guidelines around personal data and not using company confidential data, right? Using publicly available company data. But it's important to do that before you do it from a professional perspective. But what we're looking to do then with the AIC and the cohort starting in the second is giving you some insight and perspective on how you get AI to know you and for very specific context, right? In the way that Ref does with his leadership development program and beyond. So from a career development perspective, if you have the right context and it knows about you, then it can help you build a customized learning plan with your starting point, your goals, and things about you, right? With what you feed it initially, but then you can also then integrate it and have it do agentic things where it kind of proactively goes out and gets some things for you as well. So if you're tracking, for example, in your career development that you want to move into a learning and development role to transition from other roles. And one of the things you do is on a regular basis, do a search for what's happening in industry, what are some development, are there conferences, are there webinars, then you can have AI and knowing you, not just answer you, but also proactively look for information for you and surface it for you as well. So that's an example in career development. Communication, you see here around a project status update. So if you're a professional, you got a key project and you got to update the stakeholders instead of sitting in front of a blank PowerPoint presentation or Excel spreadsheet and trying to see what graphs you're going to present around the project status. With your context, with your detail information that you share it connects you and with what it knows about your stakeholders, kind of shape it, land the message with the right individuals. And the staying current here is important for both industry and role, but also for AI. So we talked about a foundational way to make sure that you're able to work with AI and for your current scope, current activities with some foundational tools and skills. But as AI continues to evolve, one of the ways you can stay up to speed with AI is with AI, and instead of doing it randomly, is with AI knowing you and what you're interested in and what are the trends and different things that are important for you and how it helps it surface it for you as you engage with it. So as a small example, one of the things that I do is I have multiple ways that I keep up to speed with the latest in AI and kind of thought leadership and practical implementation of it, over and above my own experience with individuals and organizations. And if I see, for example, a study that comes out on workplace of the future or AI in a very specific domain, I might ask a question of that article to my second brain in AI and say, from the lens that I'm looking at it and with my approach and methodology in place, I've reviewed this article, this report, and it gives me a sense that the following things are going to be impacted. Help me assess it as it applies to my framework, my methodology, and my way of thinking. And then it gives me that very specific piece of it instead of just assess it, summarize it, and then I'm doing the work. To do that, I've had to train it to be able to do that and to show that. And that's one of the things that we'll do during the AIC. That's on a professional lens. From a leadership lens, I won't read this through in detail just for the sake of time, but you'll see here, similar to from a personal perspective and for professionals, if you give it more context, AI knows you better, then you'll be able to work better and think better and execute faster as a leader. So how you develop your team, how you lead through change, and how you make better decisions. So if you are on this one, I'll speak to, if you have, based on your background and experience and the research that you've done, going to make a recommendation to a strategic planning committee for a key initiative as part of the next cycle of the strategic planning. Part of it is what you know and you know what you don't know, but You don't know what you don't know. So how can you actually have AI help pressure test your recommendations from different lenses? You can actually give it some perspective around actual stakeholders, in your organization based on background and the personas that they have and how you've built up some detail about them, and just say, for this executive in this position, typically their responses are part of the process for the strategic planning committee. How would he or she react to that, and give you that pushback that you need to prepare for that? And you can do that in writing, but then also if you have a presentation, you can also use AI to practice your pitch, your presentation. Prompted to give you questions that those folks would give as well. So it also helps from that perspective. So the piece there, then I wanted to then transition to you, Ref, is on this piece. I think from this one forward, you'll take it from here, kind of speak to some of the research we've done on the program, and also some of the next steps there. So over to you, Ref.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. And to your point, we've done a lot of research. We've actually ran focus groups too on our approach, our goals, et cetera, in our structure. So we put a lot of thought into the AIC, and just when looking at the overall kind of AI program market, it came down to these things. I think Daniel, I think you had an AI run a sequence on this and pull all the data. But if you see it, there's a big cluster around that kind of low touch, low cost perspective. And what we've been talking to a lot of organizations, and what we're seeing is organizations that are like doing this mass AI upskilling, if you will, or overview or training, whatever they call it. It's very basic, right? Very foundational. It teaches you some AI concepts, gives you some of those things. But again, it's not high touch, right? It's low touch. It's self-paced. It's again that basic version, low cost version. Then you have on the other side of the spectrum, which is high touch and highly expensive, right? That's where it gets really personalized, really detailed. We get to get to use cases specific to business, to businesses, and so it's a very personalized, very customized, and very intimate experience, and that's where you get that high dollar, high touch. What we haven't seen and where we are playing is in this high touch, lower cost perspective, where high touch, when we say high touch, we want to say, hey, with you, if you join AIC, bring us a business problem that you're working on. Bring a couple of them, right? Let's work that business problem. Let's kind of get deep on those things. Let's make sure you're walking away with value, right? That you can apply immediately. That's the bottom line. It's not going to be a bunch of concepts. Hey, here's how AI works. Here's the history of AI, that type of thing. But we're going to give you some of that. Obviously, we need to create that foundation. But at the end of the day, you need to be fluent at this stuff, right? You need to be able to apply it to your business. You need to be able to drive results, and results that people see, right? I'm guessing it's going to be part of all of our goals at some point, right? Your business goals, your personal development goals. So we want to help you get in front of that, right? We want to help you lead with AI by providing this high touch, personalized experience at a definitely lower cost than some of these other things that are out there. So that's where we're playing. I just want to provide some context on what's out there in the market and where we are going to be offering our solution that's going to help you get to the next level or levels of AI. Okay. And if you do have any questions, please call them out in the chat, and we'd be happy to talk to it. And actually, I see one question. So Daniel, before we keep going, let me just call this out by my buddy Naldo. What are the limitations of AI or the watchouts that should be we should be considering?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So one of the things that we're going to go through in the cohort is an overview on AI and also responsible uses of AI, and also how to apply discernment as you work with AI. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely limitations. One example that I would give is when typically we see a report, a 10-page Word report or PDF, and it's formatted nicely, and it's got nice graphics and charts and citations. If it looks polished, then we have a tendency to say, well, this was prepared by somebody that knows what they're doing. It doesn't look like something that somebody just typed up, threw together and copy pasted. So there's a polished output bias, where we kind of give credibility and say this looks good, and then not revise it. So one of the challenges and key points with AI where you need to apply discernment is you need to be the human in the loop. You need to be the human driving it to be able to add the element of like, does this make sense? Is this accurate? How did you jump at that conclusion, right? What does that look like? And that's one of the things that we're beginning to go in as well. How do you apply that discernment around what AI can do, what it can't do, and where you need to apply, some additional levels of human touch.
Yeah. Great call out. And I love the discernment piece. Basically, you have to lead AI. Hopefully AI is not leading you, right? Let the tool work for you. I thought there's another question here. Ed Vargas brings out a great question. I'll try to paraphrase here, but would you say AI is is it a strategic partner or a tactical partner or tool, or is AI capable of serving both strategic and being a strategic and tactical partner or tool for you?
Yeah, no, the short answer is both. And that's part of the fluency, continuum that I mentioned, right? So, you learn how to ask for directions to a museum, in Paris in French, or to a restaurant, or to your hotel, or which metro to take, and that's tactical, right? That's not strategic. But if you're able to then get more fluent with it, then you can do more advanced things. You can speak to French-only speaking folks. You can read French-only materials. You can do some deeper things with that. You can conduct business in French, right? There's different things that you can do with that from that perspective. So it's the same with AI. You can do something very simple and very tactical, like I need to draft an email response to this person, and I want to say XYZ, but I don't have time to frame it. And it gives you some sense of it. Maybe it's not your voice. Maybe it's some things, or maybe you don't like it. Maybe it gives you a couple of sentences that you copy, and then you actually type the rest of it. And that's tactical. But in that example, if you actually train your second brain and give it the context that says, here's the examples of how I write different types of communications, professionals to leadership, to peers, to clients, to mentors, to mentees, etc. And here's the type of language I give. And then if you give it a better prompt in context and say, help me draft a response to this mentee that's seeking my time, then it's going to give you something that's more valuable, more strategic. Another level of strategic strategy in that example would be if you then have that the back and forth with that mentee, and you have your emails back and forth with somebody that you mentor, but you also have transcripts of your one-to-one sessions with your mentee, then that becomes more strategic both for you as a mentor and for your mentee, because then instead of, when you meet in your next quarterly or twice a year meeting or once a year meeting, instead of saying, what did we talk about? What did it look like? You have that recency of all the email exchanges, the transcripts and the priority areas. And if I'm the mentee in that scenario, I'm like, I need to get present to this homework that I got from my mentor and suggestions. Have I done anything with them, or to the degree that I should? And if I'm the mentor and I have multiple mentees, I might get my wires crossed. Did I talk to this mentee about X? Have I talked to them about Y? Or what is it that I told them to do? Do I need to look up my email? So you can become more strategic. If then another level of strategy with that would be, if I'm then a mentor and I have, a set of mentees that I'm working with, and I'm looking for opportunities for them to connect them to my network for projects, for maybe candidacy for special projects or initiatives, or even promotion to different roles. And if I have to share something about them, I can do that from my own recollection, but I can more strategically say, hey, to one of my peers, I've got a mentee that actually would be fantastic in this initiative that you're working with. And instead of me saying, let me meet with you for 15 minutes to talk to you about it, I can have my second brain give my peer a brief summary of the mentee, the background, and why I think that'd be suitable for that role. As one example, right? So I want to walk you through all of that. So that's an example from tactical to strategic.
Yeah, and I just want to I want to bring it back to corporate a little bit. Like, for instance, if I'm in a given business unit, when I think of tactical, I think of your emails and doing things more efficiently. But when I think, when I think of strategic, I'm blowing out my strategy for next year using AI, right? Putting all the inputs and a strategy I can stand behind and I can pressure test, right? And that I'm quality checking, of course. But blowing out that annual or 3-year strategy and being able to share that with senior leaders, or if you have an organization like a nonprofit like I'm going to create, I can create my 3 to 5 year strategy using AI, putting all the inputs and seeing, and playing with that, right? And so strategically, I think that would be a use case that you can apply right to business, whether within it be a business unit, whether it be an organization. AI can be an enabler. I think even for some of our clients, we're talking about using, helping build out, multi-year strategies using the tool. So I just wanted to provide that perspective on this topic.
Okay.
I see. Really quickly, Cesar had a question. He says, Daniel, you mentioned the importance of context and prompt engineering. Can you explain these concepts for those new to AI? And also, where do you suggest I start making AI practical for my career?
No, for sure. So like in that example that I gave around Jacob and the visit to the Art Institute, that personal example, the prompt is just what I'm telling the AI, and the prompt has to do the heavy lifting with what I want, how I want it, and what lens I want to apply to it, right? And I can do a very elaborate prompt, and you can buy prompts online and have PDFs of prompts for different things, and we'll be providing prompts as well during for the cohort participants, right, from a professional perspective, and how to use them and apply them, and that's helpful. But it gives you a sense of how AI thinks, how it responds, how it processes your request, some of the language that it uses, to process things. So, the language pressure testing is, for example, is something that AI likes to do. So if you give a prompt that says, here's my proposal for initiative X, at work, can you pressure test it to see are there any gaps, are there any blind spots, et cetera, then you know how to prompt it better. But context engineering would be where you actually train AI and you create what I've been referring to as your AI brain or your second brain, to actually know more about you, so that things that you normally would have to prompt about so that it already knows when you ask it. So as an example of context engineering, if I take a transcript and I'm not usually pleased or happy with the transcript that I get, the meeting summary that I get from Teams or Zoom or other tool solutions, and they do a good job. There's a way to customize them, but there's some things that I look for after meetings that I want to have that are not in the summary. So every time I have a transcript, I process it through my transcript workflow in AI, and through my second brain, it knows what I want, how I want it to do it, what topics I want to pick up, and also not just action items, but what are things that are being said, things that are not being said, depending on the meeting. So have a complex workflow for processing transcripts. And if I just go and I upload a transcript, in an incognito chat, as I did with the example with Jacob, and say, process this transcript for me, it's going to do something, but it doesn't have any context of me, my role, my priorities, what it looks like, and it's going to miss some things. So what I like to equate it to is, if you had, for example, in that example, right, if you had a trusted colleague and you were double booked for a meeting and you couldn't make that meeting, and you would ask him, hey, tell me how it went. That colleague would know you and your priorities and your goals and your hot points and challenging areas. And it will give you an overall summary, but like, hey, by the way, they mentioned this, and you might be interested in following up on that. Or if you're out on vacation and miss meetings, you'd kind of do that with different folks as well. So that's context that those colleagues have about you that AI doesn't have. So part of the work is how do you actually build, that will show you how to do with AIC, is how do you build your AI brain, your second brain, so it has that context about you. So when you ask it questions, it knows why you're asking it and some reasons behind it.
Absolutely. One more question, Daniel, before we work to wrap up. Which AI application do you use most often, and why do you prefer that specific platform, and what sets it different than the other tools?
So I use multiple applications. Multiple applications have value and strengths, and I use them for different reasons. So I use for various different things, ChatGPT. I use Claude. I use Claude the AI. I also use Claude Cowork that provides some more advanced solutions. I use Gemini for some things. I also use as a subset of Gemini Notebook LM from Google. I also use Copilot, both the personal and the professional version. I use Meta AI. I use Manus. I use Perplexity. I use Grok. I use them for different things. And then I do some vibe coding things with things like Replit and Lovable and other tools as well, and other solutions. So part of this for me is because I'm an AI practitioner, I go deep across all these different tools because there's different value in things that some tools can do and don't do. One of the things we'll teach during AIC is embracing an experimental mindset where you're not necessarily doing, a dozen tools like I am, but you're kind of assessing what do I do for what. So you're not looking for a single tune for a solution. So if you have Microsoft Copilot available to you at work and it can't do something that you've seen something else do, you're not just stuck. You're like, well, how else do I go about doing that? Or how can I have a cross-app workflow, right? Having said all that, I've transitioned from using ChatGPT heavily since it came out in December of 2022. Over the last I've used Claude before as one of the multiple tools that I use. And sometimes I use more than one tool for the same thing to have them compare and contrast and kind of what each of them are saying. And there's an approach for doing that. But over the last 3 months, I've transitioned to do more than 50% of what I do in Claude. And there's some kind of reasons that we can get into during the cohort about why that is.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you. And Daniel, a question from me. When was the last time you created a PowerPoint manually?
2024. So yeah, a couple of years.
All right. Awesome. Yeah.
This whole presentation is created by AI. So it's not, hey, help me come up with a random presentation for this topic. It's built from my second brain. So it knows me, my approach, my methodology. So I'll give it the detail, I'll give it the audience, I'll give it what to do, but it gives it my framework, my approach, my detail. So all the content is mine, and I review it and make sure there's no hallucination or anything like that. So I'm the human in the loop with it. But I haven't manually added graphics to slides or created the traditional way of building slides for a couple of years, and oftentimes I'm creating slides while I'm in line at Costco.
Awesome. As we wrap up, I think we have 3 more slides and then we'll close out. So yeah, the AIC framework. Bottom line, you saw high touch, right? Lower cost. It's not the very basic version, but it's really a level above that. We want to get that AI fluency going, so you're a leader in the workplace. So this is a structure, right? And one thing that's that we'll call out too is that it does have a certification at the end. We're working through it. You can post it on LinkedIn. You can use it on resumes, that type of thing. But we do launch in a couple of weeks, right? 4 sessions, I think an hour and a half each. And what's cool about it, and kind of following the PLC model, is that we have accountability groups. So in between each session, you'll meet with your sub team, right? We'll break it into teams or to subgroups. So everybody's like learning along the way. We want to make sure we keep learning, right? And keep asking questions. And then the 4th thing, so critical, real world application. We're going to have pre-surveys, bring a business problem or bring a couple of them, and let's work those things using the tools, the lessons that you're going to be getting, so you can apply those in the workplace and see that immediate impact, immediate value. And again, once you do a couple of these things, our goal and hope is that you can take that same recipe, if you will, and apply it to other business problems. And once you do enough of these, our goal is hopefully you're going to be a standout leader when it comes to AI for your organization at that time. Next slide, Daniel. As far as our goals, we talked about the practicality of AI, right? We want to make sure that we're being very intentional of where we're engaging you and how we're applying it and all that good stuff, right? Everything I just spoke about. Also, we'll help you identify, high leverage application, right? What are those things that matter for your business? We're going to challenge you to identify those things, right? And hopefully it's not, to Ed's point, it's not these just very tactical things that you want to accomplish, but really, how do you start doing the tactical, but as well as getting to the strategic business problems, the pain points, the real opportunities to drive your business, your career, your ERG, whatever it is, your community, your organization, identifying those things and then solving for those things, right? So again, we want to help you to drive that high leverage, high impact application. Critical AI judgment. We got to make sure that we're being ethical, but also at the same time we're being very thoughtful and being making sure the outputs are polished, right? And the outputs are reliable. Extremely important, right? You don't want to just run something to AI tool, have a bunch of stuff just come out and hope for the best. But we really want to be thoughtful on the output of our work. As a professional, you want to go above and beyond. You want to make sure it's excellent. That's what we're after here. And then finally, with leadership and influence, it's cool that you do the work with AI, but at the end of the day, you gotta be able to influence, right? You got to be able to instill confidence, show people you mean business when it comes to AI, show people that they can trust you with business when it comes to AI, and that you pull people along a journey with you and influence the organization or organizations as you go through your AI leadership influence journey. So very, very important for us to hit these goals with you, right? This is not just a basic course. This is really bringing AI to life to help you drive real value for yourself and your organization. Last slide. How to register, it's pretty straightforward here. Again, right now we just have a placeholder on my website, but again, you use the contact feature. There is a cost to this program, obviously, and so you can have your company. We try to price it where even individually, you can afford this. And again, we want to make sure you're future proofing your career, right? That's the bottom line here. We talked about it earlier, where the future is going, how people are hiring, how people are promoting. So the sooner you get in front of it, the better position you'll be for the near and long term. We can help you on payment, right? We could talk through that. So if that's needed, and the sessions will be recorded, right? We get that, we have summer coming up, life happens, vacation happens, but we don't expect you to skip a beat, right? We'll have everything recorded. You have your subgroups, those accountability groups. But this is going to be a very intimate experience. It's going to be a very practical and very impactful experience when it comes to your AI journey. So with that, Daniel, I'm going to hand it back up to you for any closing thoughts, and then we can go from there.
No, thank you for that. So I'll stop sharing, and
yeah, we stopped sharing. You're good. All right. I think we lost Daniel, but anyhow, I just wanted to say thank you again for joining. This webcast will be available on replay. Here he's coming back. Yeah, it'll be available on replay on this LinkedIn. So please feel free to go back, but also just connect with us, right? And if you're interested, or your kids, friends, colleagues, this program is going to be, like we talked about earlier, it's different than other programs that are out there. It will add immediate value and impact for your career for now and for the long term. But Daniel, on to you for final thoughts.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. Thank you for joining. It's been fantastic to have some great dialogue and exchange here. Do reach out to Ref and I if you have questions about the program, about what we're looking to do. So you have the contact information there that Ref put through, but you also can connect with us on LinkedIn as well if you need to. So my contact is available through LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And there are, I think one of the slides mentions that it'll be starting June 2nd every other Monday, but it's actually starting June 2nd every other Tuesday. June 2nd is a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And the way that Ref sets up his leadership program is, in addition to the real-time sessions, he has pods of 10 people each that then join multiple people so that they meet in between sessions. So we're going to replicate that here, so that in between the 4 sessions, there will be some work that will be folks divided by group, and there will be some elements of homework and activities to do in between. So that's another element that we've incorporated from Ref's well tried out and proven approach.
Absolutely. All right. Well, everybody, thank you again. I think we're right on time here as far as ending. Again, we'll keep posting, right? We're going to be recruiting for it. So just, stay tuned for our posts, share the posts, right? We want to reach those who need this, right? And I'm guessing most professionals in the workplace need this. We want to provide some structure. We want to provide a great foundation to start from. So there's 8 million tools out there. We want to be the one-stop shop to get your journey going in a very structured, very grounded, and a very impactful way. So we're looking forward to partnering with many of you as we go forward. So we're always here. All right. So with that, Daniel, we'll say goodbye. If you can hang on after, right, we end here. But everybody, thank you. Have a great month. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Cheers. And then,
all right,
well, if you want